The British people have voted to leave the European Union.
The Syrian government has used sarin against its civilians.
The government issued its most dramatic report yet about climate change.
Dueling U.S. and North Korean videos.
It's hard to deny that we're living in an age of uncertainty and change, both domestically and internationally. From the emerging concerns over cybersecurity to a deafening silence in the face of appalling human rights abuses, states are constantly being forced to adapt to unprecedented challenges and forces which seek to reshape the world they operate within. For Canada, one of the most shocking changes has been the seeming withdrawal of much of the world from the traditional norms and values that define the status quo. With traditional champions of this system of values, like the United States, turning inward, and emerging powers like China and India placing less emphasis on these ideals, middle powers like Canada, which have thrived in the old system, are faced with a unique opportunity. We can choose to act as a stabilizing force internationally, supporting and reinforcing the old liberal values, or we can seek to impact and direct these changes, ensuring that the emerging realities are those which still support the core values of Canadian foreign policy.
Internationally, the emphasis on human rights has declined. Human rights do not hold the same venerated position they used to. Developments in the international system have resulted in their value diminishing. The United States, once a vocal advocate for human rights, now blatantly disregards them, with the inhumane treatment of migrants both at and within their borders. Yet Canada is willing to stand up for human rights, even if we stand alone. Canada has criticized Saudi Arabia's human rights abuses, and even under intense diplomatic pressure, we have refused to back down. However, Canada's commitment to human rights goes beyond just allegations. In a recent free trade agreement with Colombia, annual reports on human rights issues were a key component. Canada has promoted these values both unilaterally and, when possible, multilaterally, such as how they presented the UN resolution on human rights abuses in Venezuela.
In recent years, the concept of multilateralism as one of the guiding principles of international affairs has come under question. A growing sense of distrust among both developed and developing nations has led a number of states to abandon multilateral institutions, exemplified by the Philippines and South Africa's withdrawal from the ICC. In its stead, states are increasingly turning to unilateral and bilateral solutions to diplomatic, economic, and security concerns, such as China's refusal to accept the arbitration of the United Nations in 2016. In contrast, the Canadian commitment to multilateralism has remained strong, with continued adherence to agreements like the Paris Accords demonstrating its commitment to multilateral solutions. Even despite the lack of support from major nations like China and the United States, Canada has remained committed to agreements like the TPP in its attempts to promote multilateralism abroad. Moving forward, our foreign policy should continue to emphasize the importance of multilateralism on the international stage.
While Canada has made positive strides in various areas, in many cases our responses to these issues fall short. Canada can serve as a positive example in some cases, but there often exists a disparity between our international image and domestic reality. For example, our neglect of the issues of the Indigenous populations, as well as other minorities, has been wholly inadequate. Even in areas where we have made steps in the right direction, such as climate change, there still is much room for improvement. Only by understanding both our successes and failures will we be able to navigate these changes while staying true to our core values.
What we propose is a series of 15 to 20 minute video essays individually examining a number of contemporary challenges in international relations, as well as their implications for Canada. Each essay would examine the roots of a specific development and how we, as a middle power, can act to temper or direct the international responses to it. With the average person consuming more and more news and content online, complex topics such as political developments, social movements, and economic issues have become more accessible than ever before. Video essays allow us to make our analysis of today's pressing issues accessible without compromising on the level of analysis or research involved. Finally, as each member of this class have unique areas of interest and focus, it would allow us to cover a wide variety of developments and issues while enabling each person to work on topics they find engaging and worthwhile.